First order of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from March 28th. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve meeting minutes for March 2024.
Second. We have a second. As questions, concerns, comments?
Do we have any members online? Ms. Mackey, do we have any committee members online?
Kim.
Kim. Oh, okay. All right. So then we do have to do roll call.
Okay. Seeing no comments.
Okay.
You'd probably be happy to get off if.
I'm gonna come back and. We'll go roll call. Mr. Crucial.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm a yes. Ms. Blair.
Yes.
I don't think Mr. Page is online yet, so. Ms. Brown.
Abstain, I was absent.
Ms. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Margie Boucher.
Yes.
Rennie is absent. Ms. Labar.
I was absent.
You're gonna abstain.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson. Yes. Mr. Christensen.
Yes.
Ms. Collins.
Yes.
And Mr. Quimby.
Yes.
Yeses have it.
Moving on to public participation. I don't believe we had anybody online or remote. I don't think they were all designers.
Nobody in.
Victoria. All right. Tierney, you got anything you want to say?
Not yet.
Okay. Then we'll close that portion. Jonathan, floor is yours.
I believe we were gonna, is there a schedule slide, which I can't read? Rich, do you have
I do have a copy.
can you go through it or,
Where would you like to start? At the top?
oh, where we are right now, right?
Wait a second.
Pass it over, I'll do it.
Line item 123, early bid package number 1, the enabling. So far, we have GAGs on board, correct? For the site work. And just yesterday, Griffin Electric submitted the low bid for the electrical package. We'll contract working on that if it's not already been put in the mail. So we'll get that in the works.
And Gags is Gagliarducci,
Correct.
just making sure.
Jamie, you said GAG's at the number, Griffin's slightly below.
They're both slightly below from what was advertised.
So you guys gonna send us subcontractor recommendation letters?
We asked Ben how he wanted to roll with that. I think he was waiting to talk to you.
Yeah, typically that's what we do. And
Yeah.
I would like you, especially for the early packages, to compare the bid price versus what was carried in an estimate. So we know that we're in track.
Okay.
If there's a savings or overage or whatever.
And the next package to go out, Jamie, is what?
EP2.
Yeah, ERP2, which is the entire site, concrete, steel, low grade waterproofing, elevator, and then some electrical equipment material.
Lot.
What's the date on it, Rich?
25th.
Are you guys tracking on that or?
Oh, yeah. I know that date for a reason.
Vacation on July 6th.
All right, the line item 124, it's 60% CDs to investigators. 624 is the due date.
Correct.
Hard for that?
Yep.
I'll just hit on a few of them here. Line item 125, the cost estimate reconciliation running out till 7/17. And then the line item 126 is the commissioning agent's comments on the 60% drawings, and that runs out to 7/5. So that doesn't give them a lot of time, basically only 10 days.
Well, they'll get the package when we issue to the estimators,
Okay,
so they'll have time.
that'll buy them a little more time.
Who are we using, Helen?
It's who was assigned to us,
Yeah, well-
commissioning agent, which is
BA signs it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, was it FST engineer?
FST, I think. yeah, yeah.
FST.
And we just had them at the Swan DeBerry and they were excellent.
Good.
Yeah, they were very good. I'll just have one more here. Line item 127, the team's response to the commissioning agent's comments. That's due the middle of July, so that will be quick. Pretty much it. Everything runs on.
Is there a date there where we start the enabling work, the construction work?
June 17th.
June 17th?
Package June 17th.
is when you got mobilized to site and construction.
Showing a presence.
14th. Friday, Monday.
Could be Saturday.
Even better.
Nice.
We're not afraid. You want to come in Friday at 5? That's fine too.
Frank said no, we already asked.
Yeah, but he's not here.
I just said Friday at 2.
And the plan is to wrap up all this enabling work by August.
September 15th.
September.
With our fence line. End of August outside of the construction fence.
Okay.
Any other dates anyone's interested in off of this fine printed schedule?
Do we need to review the logistics plan at all for the summer work? Is that,
We have those slides in
Okay.
our portion.
Okay, perfect.
To run through them real quick.
thank you.
But it's all,
It hasn't changed. Yeah,
but there's no question. It's just, here's what we're.
no, just a reminder of here's what's going on, just for the board.
That's about it. Nothing else.
Only thing, I ran into this recently with elevators. We never get responses on file sub bids from elevators. They just don't do that. I'm sure you guys are aware of
Yeah.
that. Last time I talked to the Attorney General, we had to advertise twice and then we had to bid it.
Mhm.
And then we can assign it to the CM. So this may take a little while to get through, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, that seems to be, they used to get one bid and then you basically had the option to rebid it or go with them.
Yeah.
But then now their new thing is nobody bids it, so.
So I know ultimately we'll end up assigning it to you, but
Elevator.
process we have to go through.
Yeah,
Anything else on schedule?
I don't think so.
No.
Victoria's got a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not on schedule, but just while we're in the Skanska update. So everyone knows we're working with Frank Page and Gordon and Fontana provide a student and parent memo before the end of school to help them know what to expect this summer and then coming up into the fall. So that's going to include the logistic plans that Fontaine will go over later in the meeting and answer some questions that we've been hearing from community members. And also we're working on monthly construction updates and working with Ryan to figure out how to get that posted to the website on a regular basis. So we're working out those details right now and also revitalizing the project website to bring us more into what folks want to see for the construction phase.
Yeah. Vic, is there any discussion about community outreach separate from the website? Like, is there going to be any email blast or anything like that that lets people know what's going on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's what I think we're hoping the construction updates, the monthly construction updates can accomplish. Right now, we're kind of deciding if we should use if we should use MailChimp and have it be a sign up where folks get those emailed directly to them, or if we are alerting them where to find it on the website and post it also on the district Facebook. So we're trying to figure that out right now. But it'd be great, I think, if it could go directly to those who register to get those. And also we can set up an email distribution with the butters so that they're getting any notices that for anything that impacts the neighborhoods, the surrounding neighborhood. So we're working out those details.
Excellent. Thank you. Design update?
An update. So kind of broken into 3 parts. So first, Eric will take us through some site updates since we've last met. We have a PV presentation from George Martin from LN Consulting, who's joining us via Zoom. And then Jill and I will go through some focusing more on the interior design and programming updates. But I'll pass it off to Eric to start.
Eric Mangsness, landscape architect with SMMA. So just a quick overview of what we're going to discuss. Go through a quick site plan update. Talk about some updates to the front entry plaza, some coordination that's been done on the Spartan Walkway and monuments discussion. Take a couple images of the pedestrian bridge that's being proposed at the front of the school over the bioretention. Get a little bit more into the pre-K playground and some quick images, just to show you progress on the arts, sciences and outdoor dining. And then to discuss, an item that came up about some additional student traffic control measures. We can discuss, to see how the committee feels about those. And then, wrap up with just a couple of quick updates on the stormwater management. Next slide. So since last time we met in the month of May, maybe it was at the end of April too, we completed.
To test.
I was testing my memory. That's right. I think I might have been able to do it actually. So we completed site plan review. There were a series of comments from DPW we're working to address right now, and I'll get into those a little bit as we go through the slides. Then we had a separate meeting on just kind of discussing maintenance, including snow storage and the parking lot configuration, things of that nature. That's sort of an ongoing piece that we're going to keep working on as we move forward. We had a meeting with Rose and Dan on the Spartan Walkway and the memorials, and some changes to kind of what was originally proposed came out of that, which is that was very, very helpful. And a thank you to Fontaine, who went out with a drone and actually got some high resolution images of the existing paver pattern. We show you an image of that. So that was a super big help. And then take a look, just an update. We had a meeting yesterday on both the press box and the irrigation. So some feedback came back from that. So we're going to get back in touch with the consultant that we're working with on the press box design. And then the irrigation design consultant has some marching orders in terms of progressing those plans for the 60%.
Is there an issue with the press box? Is that?
No.
Okay.
Really, it was more of just a review of the interior, and we got some good feedback about how there's 2 rooms in it and how those should be separate, who should be allocated in each room. And I think that was the biggest question that came out of it. And then some questions from LCAT about screens, visibility and filming. So we're going to package all those questions up and send them out to the consultant on Monday. So that'll give them a couple of weeks to get back to us for that. And they've been very responsive. Proposed site plan, this is an updated rendering. Not a lot to report on the broad nature of the site plan. I would say 2 of the bigger items that affected stormwater is, for maintenance purposes, the permeable pavers in the parking areas have been removed and replaced with just asphalt like the rest of the drives. Those, and then we're working through the impact stormwater wise to that. So we've got some solutions to that, but we're still working on that. And then one of the comments that we had received was removing a number of the sort of bump out landscape islands in the parking lots at the ends of the parking rows and just replacing them with striping. We've incorporated that already into the plan, and we've worked with Bruce basically so that we were fully on board, and he was on board with which ones were coming out and which ones needed to stay, mostly for stormwater management and traffic management. So again, it breaks out what it did result in was we added 4 parking spaces to the faculty and staff parking lot. Frank was excited about, just because it gives a little bit more capacity for the staff and the faculty. Other than that, there's not a whole heck of a lot has changed on this, so I don't think we need to spend too much time on that. Next slide. So now we're just go to an enlargement here, and you can see, so we'll kind of walk through these areas, but one of the most notable changes, you can see the Spartan Walkway up there. The result of the meeting, and we'll get into another slide in a minute on this, is to effectively, with some very, very minor changes, to recreate what is out there today. Short of a few items, and I'll get into those in a little bit. But you can see school bus and parent drop off haven't changed really. You can see we did add a bioretention area in the staff parking lot right in that center median. You'll notice there's no trees in there, and we're still working through that. But when we removed the pavers, that was one of the ways of offsetting the additional impervious surface, was to create a bioretention. So, and again, we're still working through that. And then we'll go into the individual areas. You can see we've updated the sciences terrace, the dining terrace a little bit, and the arts terrace is a little bit still in flux. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that today. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about, there was a lot of discussion about the number of bollards and maintenance and things like that at the parent and bus drop off. So what we've done is we've replaced, before, everywhere you see highlighted was flush curb, which is shown in green. And what we did was we have revised, particularly the school bus drop off. We've replaced 400 linear feet of flush curb and bollards with vertical curb. And that allowed us to remove about almost 39 bollards from the school bus drop off. So the way it'll work now is in the morning when school buses are doing more of a rolling drop off, there's still going to be a flush area at the school bus drop off that can accommodate 6 school buses for the students to get off. And then in the afternoon, the school buses can still use that entire loop. It'll still support 14 school buses. We just didn't necessarily think that we needed a flush condition to serve all 14 buses anymore. So that allowed us to get rid of quite a number of bollards.
I actually have a question about like the bus drop off. So I take the bus in the morning to school and my bus, but we get there first. However, I've been on a bus that's like been late a couple times. I noticed that like students are always standing outside the school, like they don't go inside the school and sit in the cafeteria or anything like at Birchland. Is there going to be like shelter for these students in case of like rain when they're standing outside, or is that like more of a question I should be asking staff when the school opens?
In terms of outside, there are not going to be any canopies outside other than at the front door. There will be a canopy at the pool building that I suppose people could stand under, and there will be a canopy at the entrance to the main school building that people could stand under, but there's not going to be one of those long linear canopies like you see.
I guess my question is kind of like, do you know if people are still planning like stashing students outside before school starts?
It's an operational question.
Yeah, but that will be a question we'll have to answer as we get closer to opening the school. It's a good question, though.
All right, thank you.
Staffing inside earlier.
So that's just an update. Just wanted to give everyone an update that we have cut back on the number of bollards and sort of simplified that. Next slide. Okay, so just an update on the monuments. So you can see on the left are some of the monuments that we have documented. The Spartan logo plaque at the Spartan walkway, the monument sign as you enter it, the 2 benches. The Don Joe Gary plaque, which is under that red leaf maple sort of behind the Spartan walk, and the Ferchera Way sign. So all of these have been documented. All of them will be reinstalled. You could see again, thanks to Fontaine, these awesome drone images. And this is just one of many that they sent us, including some videos that you could see. We've actually started to go through the process of documenting the layout pattern, so that we can recreate it in its new location. So that was a super big helpful. And that's all the engraved bricks that are out there now. One recommendation we would give the school and the committee going forward, since this has been documented now, is to maybe not install any more at this time, simply because if they may not get picked up, and we wouldn't want to see them, missed or something, and their location missed. So
Start a new program with the new school.
Early adopters.
yes. And
I'm sorry, Eric, are you keeping the same bricks that are not engraved? They'll be reused? Is that the plan?
no,
All new bricks except for the engraved ones?
correct.
Oh,
Correct. And when we met with Rose, it was very clear, each of those bricks needs to go back exactly where it was. So we are drafting that patio up down to every joint of every brick, thanks to these photographs, to make sure that we can plug those back in exactly where they are now in the new location. So that'll be an enlargement detail. Next slide. So this is just a little bit of an update on the Spartan walkway. So when we met with Rose, the desire was again to recreate it. Now there are a couple of things out there. The walls as you walk in, those masonry unit walls, those were deemed not to be critical to the design of the Spartan walkway, according to Rose. Those we probably will not replace because we want to keep it a little bit more open as people walk in. Another thing is the plantings around it were not deemed critical, but what was critical is to have something with interest all year round. And that'll be our responsibility to create a border planting that provides that opportunities for people to take pictures, right, with a nice backdrop. That'll be something that we need to look at as we develop the planting plan. But you can see what we've done here. Right now, the existing patio has 3 bump outs for benches. And what was discussed out in the field was that eliminate those bump outs for the benches and actually enlarge it by the patio by a few rows of bricks so that in the future, if more benches were donated, you would be able to locate them around the perimeter of the space and not be beholden to those few bench nooks. And it'll make maintaining the area around the Spartan Walkway a little bit easier. So you can see we picked that location on that main pedestrian spine from Maple Street into the main entry plaza. And Gordon, maybe you could speak to, but it seemed Rose was pleased with that and that location it was a good bet to move forward with.
She was very happy with the new location.
So, next slide. This is an image of what we're thinking right now for the bridge. So we've listened to the comments about maintenance. There's no wood on this bridge. It's a weathered steel truss bridge with concrete abutments and a concrete deck. That's about the scale in terms of width that it would be. And again, we think of the red stone. We like that weathered steel look. We think that'll look nice with the brick of the school. And this is what will cross that bioretention area from the staff lot to the main.
What is the width?
It'll be, I think it's 6 feet clear.
Okay.
Correct.
That-
Yeah, something like that. You really want to make sure that if necessary, 2 wheelchairs could pass, and 6 feet seems to be that width.
What's the spanner?
56 feet right now is what we're planning. So no, no central support. It'd just be from abutment to abutment.
In the budget right now, right?
Retention area
Yep.
for the water.
Anyone? Bueller?
put it?
From Fontaine?
There's a bridge in the budget.
Okay. It's 5 feet long.
Jamie, you don't seem sure.
Like where would just pedestrian say to bridge to cross? Is there like a stream or something? Or just-
Go back one.
Yeah, we can go back one. It's right where, yeah, thank you, Christian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right there. So there's gonna be a bioretention area for stormwater collection.
Oh, cool.
And so that it's gonna cross it.
Okay, that'll look cool.
Yep.
But it's not the only way to get to the front entry.
Yeah.
If it was, we could make it a moat.
Frank would like.
A retention.
I thought about a drawbridge, but I didn't think,
There you go.
or a toll bridge. So these are just some images of, the bridge idea.
What are your plans for doing in there? Because, I know like, for instance, I know like in East Hampton, the elementary school, they put stones. Mostly it was like a stone kind of sort of thing and look really pretty. But I think the kids' first day of school, of course, are picking up the stones. These guys are older than that, but.
So what we are planning to do is we wanted to take this bioretention area and sort of evoke the redstone quarry motif. So it is, for maintenance purposes, it's going to be planted with a seed mix, like a wetland wild native grass seed mix. There's usually some wildflowers in there too. That's going to be the predominant cover. That only gets mowed maybe once a year. So no shrubs and no trees within it because that makes maintenance a nightmare. So it's just going to be that herbaceous seed mix. And then we're hoping to get redstone boulders to place sporadically around the perimeter of it to, again, give it almost like that, long since past quarry feel to it. Yeah, nothing, if they can pick these things up, then power to them. But
Cool. Thank you.
And Eric, is there any
It'll be no
lighting at
challenge,
your,
though.
so when you cross the bridge at night, is there any lighting to light up?
Well, that's.
there'll be, we're working on that. There will be lighting that, it's not going to be lighting on the bridge itself, but it'll be lighting that comes from the parking lot and from that entrance drive that adequately illuminate it. Yeah, good question. We make sure that appropriate distribution. The pre-K play area, we'd like to take the opportunity to reach back out to Juanita, if the committee's good with this idea that we had a lot of thoughts about this area initially. In schematic design, we went through a VE process. So right now, what is proposed for this play area, it's 1,100 square feet roughly. We're looking at resilient rubber playground protective surfacing in the whole of that enclosure. And then right now, we're proposing a black vinyl coated chain link fence around it with 2 gates so that, there's 2 points of access that can be controlled by the staff, of course. And then we're looking at Juanita had requested a shed, a 6x8 shed. So we're looking at something steel, low maintenance, protects whatever's in there from the elements. And, we'll try to find something that maybe has the similar color to the metal paneling on the building. So currently, just some precedent images. Those aren't the exact products. It's just to give you an idea of what's possible. We're pondering maybe doing some kind of like mounding of that rubber surfacing that the kids can play on within the enclosure. And we're thinking maybe we'd just reach out to Juanita and ask her if it's okay. Would she prefer something mounded in there? Or would she just prefer it flat so it can be just used for whatever the program would?
Was that poured in place or the rubber tiles poured in place?
Poured in place, yeah. Well, if it's a mound, we would typically do that over like bituminous. If it's flat, then we can do that just over crushed stone so that it's fully permeable. It just depends on the treatment in there. Yep. So I mean, if the committee's okay with this, then this is sort of the direction we would be. No play equipment, because again, that was VE'd out. So there's no play equipment proposed in there, just the shed.
When it comes to the shed, let's make sure it's reasonably robust.
Yep.
Because those things get beat to death.
Yep.
And it's,
And that's going inside the play area?
Yeah, what'll happen, you can see the yellow asterisk is where that shed would be, just sort of tucked out of the way. And the idea is that the shed would be on a concrete pad. There's going to be a concrete edge around to hold the rubber surface in place. And the concrete edge is what we set the fence in. And that fence will just come right up to the shed and end at the shed. And then you'll have the shed.
Small point on this section here. I know this is the bathrooms that we're gonna allow access for the fields. Can we put signage to that effect? Let people know that there are restrooms at that door? Does that make sense? I don't know,
Great idea.
without being tacky, I suppose.
Yeah.
If we're gonna have them, we might as well tell people where they are. Yeah.
Would be building mounted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll put it in our cart.
And then that's completely secluded, right, Christian? That works as we intended.
Right. So we can close off the doors in the hallways. Yep.
Just some imagery, as you arrive, you could the largest image is sort of the main entrance to the school. So you can see sort of that bridge coming across, the redstone boulders and that herbaceous seed mix. We'll have trees around the bioretention area again to give it that feel, that feel that we're looking for. And then you can see the flush drop off because we reduced the number of bollards. We're going to go back to probably like a steel bollard with a stainless steel sleeve, which will look very nice in front of the school. We've done those before, and they have a very nice, clean, sleek look to them. And then you can see we've done, we made a modification to the seat walls in the front entrance. So originally we had discussed having curved, like almost half moon or half circle shaped seat walls. They were a little bit big and they really didn't respond to the architecture, and the architecture has more of a splayed look. It's got more angular and geometric looks to it. And then I think too about like sandstone and how it's typically carved, and it's got angle points and it's more geometric. So we went with seat walls that'll have like an open, they'll still create these nooks for groups of students to sit in, but instead of being round, they'll be more almost like if you took the hat off of a trapezoid, right? And it'll just open up like this. So instead of round, we're just going with the geometric. We're still keeping the round shapes right now in the sciences outdoor learning space. You can see that there's still a shade structure there. You can see the outdoor dining commons also with a shade structure. And then
The stadium seating in the arts area there, the double ring.
Yeah, the idea is that we'll have two seat walls and one will maybe be 6 inches lower than the other. So
All performances and
That's gonna
such.
be great. Yeah, that's gonna be fantastic.
Great.
yeah, and just that minor variation in the height of the seat walls. So, yep. And this is just an enlarged, this is more so the one on the right, I would say, than the one on the left, but this is sort of the shade structure we're looking at. Again, very simple, galvanized steel, simple maintenance, but will still function to provide shade in that dining commons, with seating under it. And it'll also be the same piece similar that would be used in the sciences outdoor learning space, where there'll be an outdoor spot where kids can sit on the seat walls in the sciences spot. there also be this sort of second layer where kids can work underneath that shade structure. We just had to keep it a little bit further away from the greenhouse, so we weren't shading the greenhouse.
The wood or faux?
That's real wood, but it's minimized. It's the steel ones, we weren't thrilled with what we had seen for the slats. We felt of all the places, this might be one place that, you know, the wood's typically pretty durable and.
It has a lifespan, 20 years, 15, roughly,
I don't know the lifespan off the top of my head. I could get you that information.
ballpark-ish, less than
What
steel.
material is it?
It's,
E-pay or some kind of,
Won't be E-part, right? You can afford E-pay, right?
yeah, it's usually hardwood of some kind. I can't recall exactly what this one is, but we can find that out for you.
Will there be
Got a bunch of books in my
any
yard.
outlets, like kind of closer to the building, like where the little covered area for the eating is, or out in any of these, 'cause their Chromebooks are never charged? And like, so when if they do go up for class and the Chromebook's not charged, they can will plug it in. Will there be anything like that?
So there'll be electrical outlets and Wi-Fi. And I believe we're doing like hose spigot hookups
Okay.
in the art space, the sciences space, and the dining space. Not in the front plaza because I think we had discussed that wasn't as desirable as in those outdoor learning and dining spaces.
All right, thank you.
And that'll be further coordinated as we finalize the design.
Never charged. Plug them in.
So, and then a question had to come up. So Principal Frank Page had asked about,
He's online now.
oh, great. He had asked about potentially adding a few gates to control student traffic. So the first to call your attention to is from the student lot. The idea is that when the school bus, and it's a good point, when the school buses are yet to be released, Frank was concerned about students trying to get in front of the buses and leave before they do. And rather than having somebody go out and set up cones every day or have someone stand in the road and hold students at bay, the idea was that before dismissal, those two gates could be closed. And once the school buses are released, a staff member could go out there, open those gates, and then the students would be free to use it. And so that's why we sort of set them in, because it's more about keeping students from leaving via those two points of access until they're supposed to than it is about people getting in.
They can leave through the other
Correct.
horseshoe, right?
Yeah, the intent was that before the school buses leave, the parents would, or the students would go out towards the main, you know, the new horseshoe, we'll call it. Yeah.
swing gate or retractable?
Yeah, you can see right there, because of the width, it would be a double leaf galvanized steel swing gate. Very simple, low maintenance, and there would be keeper posts to keep those leaves open most of the time and locked open in an open position when they're not closed. And that's just an example. The other one that Frank had asked about was potentially a gate at the entrance to the service drive. And Frank's concern was that if students may try to park when they're coming in the morning, may try to park down by the pool entrance, the rear pool entrance, or in the areas where you would think the custodial staff, kitchen staff might park in the back there. So the idea was to add a gate that could be closed until most of the students were in, and then that could be open. So I guess what the design team just needs direction from the committee on is all three gates, one or more of the gates. We just need to know which ones the committee would prefer to install, if any.
They're gonna be manual, not electrified.
Manual, yes.
That third one, the most concerned about for access for swimmers, for early morning deliveries. I'd hate to have a custodian have to run out there every time somebody wants to get through. I understand the concern about students, but maybe we can just create the culture
Well,
and not
the staff come in early.
allow them to park there.
We've tried to create that culture.
It's easy for me to say. Right?
Is there a student number? I mean, the spaces are not numbered right now, right? I mean, there are other ways, I think, to.
There's a line and,
Sign,
yeah. and our-
sign parking space.
Assign parking spaces and assign staff spaces. So for those staff that are parking off of that drive,
Right.
that it's clearly marked. I guess there's other ways to control it, but that's for.
Yeah.
At home, there's a culture. They don't want to get towed more than once. I'm just saying.
If you had those first two gates closed, really, they would have to come in the bus loop entrance, right, to get to the service entrance
Yes,
in the morning?
they're gonna have to come in the bus loop anyway. Wouldn't you say that's how they're,
Custodian or food service, if they wanted to get to the side parking there, they would have to come in through the
Yeah.
student/bus entrance.
Right.
Yeah, the only time, my understanding, the only time that those two at the student lot would be closed is during afternoon dismissal, just to prevent them from cutting in front of the buses. That's my
Because you want them to have access both ways.
Correct.
Gotcha.
It seems like the gates give you flexibility to then
Make those decisions.
Yeah.
utilize them as you see fit, right? But
well,
it will be a question on
you know
that.
how many gates are open all the time?
Right.
We have some of them.
You guys want me to chime in on my thoughts on this one?
Sure. He knows better.
Yeah, so, yeah, those gates were more only gonna be used in the afternoon to make sure that the buses exit the campus without having to deal with the students trying to get in front of them, just because we have to make sure that those buses go over to Birchland for their dismissal as well. Because obviously we dismissed with the two of them. In the morning, we wouldn't have that issue because our buses are typically cleared from the horseshoe by about 7:05, which is typically much before the majority of our students arrive to school. So they would only be closed in the afternoon to make sure that the buses get over to Birchland.
My only concern would be the human element about having somebody out there to close them and open them. I mean, obviously, I'm IT, so I want everything to be electrified, but
Like to the.
well, shut that got electrified.
No, from his phone.
From
his phone.
Gate app, take a shot at it.
Yeah, I can just tell you that the kids will try to beat the buses if that opportunity is provided.
I would.
Absolutely.
What about that third one though, Frank, to the pool?
That one's not a deal breaker for me. It was more a recommendation to try to limit that area. Just, I'll tell you that if you have spots close to the building, people will try to take advantage of spots that are closer to the building than ones that are farther away. And
Yeah.
it could be kids, it could be staff. We deal with both issues now, so.
I do agree.
It can't hurt to have. them.
Can we pick it, Frank?
You sure should.
Well, you're not gonna know necessarily if it's a student or it's some.
Pick it both?
We have
But you
passes.
can go in the
Oh,
pool and say who's.
We have
part
passes.
of them.
No, they have been in there.
Yeah, right.
You always gonna have this after, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's that's not a deal breaker for me. It's making sure that we can manage dismissal in a manageable way. You know, the one down there, if it doesn't get added, it's not the end of the world.
Plan, yeah.
Okay,
So
so two, right?
add
Chain of
the two at the parking lot and not the third one. Okay. Right. Okay, that's, thank you. And
Can you
then,
leave this slide, Eric? Are we gonna talk about concession building today?
2 slides.
Thank you. I didn't see the list, so sorry.
actually, I'm glad Greg stopped me though, because we did, based on the safety security meeting, we added 2 more of those gates at either end of the emergency access going around the back of the school. That was requested. So we've added those back in. Again, they're gonna be manual. They're just gonna be like these, be the same design.
On the loop around the building.
Yeah, yep, just to keep people out of there. They're not supposed to.
Police and fire and DPW will have keys.
Correct.
That's the plan.
Yes.
And school, obviously.
Electrified.
Yeah, same concern. They'll get opened and just stay open forever. Like we used to have a gate back here and then it just stayed open forever until it just got removed. We put a gate at Heritage Park and that just stayed open forever.
Electrified gates are considerably more expensive.
Yep.
For the outskirts though, like what you're talking about, the ones that are further back in terms of control for, well, they shouldn't ever be opened again anyway, so I guess, never mind. You know,
And the only reason that that's supposed to be used, no, there's no electrified gates. Those were originally proposed, again, they were removed in the VE process but when Desire came out, I did not attend that meeting, but my understanding was that a manual gate was sufficient back in those areas. Those won't be opened unless there's an emergency, is from my I don't even recall that those gates being open was maintenance topic other than snow plowing. I suppose emergency and snow plowing, excuse me. I should take that back. So.
And they're wide enough for that snowplow.
Yeah, they're probably gonna be similar width to this because between the permeable pavement back there and the porous asphalt pavement back there and the reinforced turf back there, just to keep the pavement down, it's 20 feet wide, which is fire code for emergency access. So the gates will even.
So it's double tens.
Yep. And just a quick update. So again, we're working through based on the changes that have been made to the site plan with the parking lots and the driveways. We've added that biofilter swale that you can see in yellow in the staff parking lot in the center there.
Is that dip? Is that recessed?
Yes, minor. Yeah, once a year, because it's not going to be a grass mix. It's not going to be a lawn grass mix. It's going to be a bioretention, wetland detention basin.
Wild mix.
Yeah, wild.
Ruly, though. One's ruly in the middle of the front of the building, no?
Yep.
But we need it.
Yeah, stormwater, we have to offset the.
Can you put some wildflowers in there than like just grass?
Usually the mixes come with a combination of both. It's just the concern with a wildflower mix that we found is it usually takes a couple years to get established, and a lot can happen in 2 years waiting for that to get established. So the mixes, they typically have some wildflowers in them, and sometimes those seeds propagate themselves over time, but we'd want to get a quick establishment of species. And we'll go through the mix and the species in that.
What is the maintenance requirements of these?
Usually an annual mowing in a bioretention area. Because some of them are designed with mulch, but we're not doing that here. We're not proposing like a mulch bed like some of them are. We're doing it with a seed mix.
This is a weed
Um,
on purpose.
Intentional.
Intentional weeds is okay. Yeah.
I might deter kids from trying to walk through it too, if it's a little higher.
I don't know, so there are some questions on concessions and especially the view from where you're selling tickets and where you're providing food to the field. And so seeing it in the context of the site plan is a little bit more helpful. We're a little bit restricted on exactly where this concessions building can go in terms of proximity to the parking, and then also for emergency access for ambulances, et cetera, through those double gates. So we're doing the best we can with angling it so that we have views to both. But both ticketing and food sales would be at the kind of northern end. Then you have a throughway hallway in between those two, and then the men's and women's rooms to the south. So did that help?
Did you say the comment was view from the, like, you got like watching the game while you're at the concession stand?
If you're
That was-
the parent selling the burgers,
Easy thing to do,
can you see?
Oh,
because the parents are ones that work it.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to get parents to work it, let them see the game.
We want to see that, yeah.
You know? We can't move that hallway, Christian, right next to the window, the food window,
Move the hallway.
bathroom hallway to the food, in the food window. I know it's central, I get it, it's like, where else do you put it, but. I mentioned it's like putting the bathroom door in the kitchen.
You did say.
So all the people walking in and out of the bathroom are like right here as I'm ordering my cheeseburger, which is fine, but if, one of those things.
You want to split it a long way.
I want to.
Like
You're talking about-
Outside or
Yes,
cheeseburger.
those people are all going to the bathroom.
Men and
Correct.
women's like
Right,
that.
and I would like
Food
it,
is kind of up here.
isn't it on this side?
It could be on whichever side you
It's gonna
want.
be on that side, because that's the view.
You can choose.
I'm gonna choose the side. 'Cause it's-
So you want the woman, you want the woman's room?
I would like that door where that arrow is not there.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
don't know what to do for.
okay.
Christian,
You can close that door and make people
Let's
go
close that
down.
door. Can we do that? I would prefer that.
When you're running the burger stand, you can do that.
I know I'm saying it, like change it, but if you put the women's room back here, the men's and women's room back there, and just did concessions, so they had to go to the back to use the bathrooms, then you don't see the door at all? Or is that just like a headache? You're like, "Darr."
I
I don't know, just
Yeah, I think it's gonna end up being more of a
hassle.
hindrance and hassle, and then you have people congregating back there and
Fraternizing.
yes.
That's gonna be tight back there, because you have a 6-foot height fence and it's gonna be tight back there.
Like what?
Yeah, it's only about 5 feet.
Width wise?
Yep.
Isn't 5 feet enough?
Well, it's enough, but in terms of if everybody was going back there.
Whatever. We can move on. What am I gonna do? I don't love it, but.
So take the thank you slide out. Don't love it. Okay.
All right.
Hey, good. Yeah.
Switched over to George. George, you're able to,
Yeah, hey.
audio's working okay?
You can hear me?
Fantastic.
All right, cool. George Martin with Ellen Consulting, talking about PV. Basically, this is showing our kind of current layout, where we try to optimize the PV layout to, get as much basically KW up there as possible. There's coordination with some rooftop mechanical equipment and some different elevations of roofs. So this takes into account like potential shading, et cetera. And with this layout, we were able to get a 1,008 470 watt panels, which is equivalent to about 473 kW DC, which can produce about 460,000 kWh per year, which, we would want to model this for the actual usage of the building, but it's probably about 20% and could be upwards of 30% based on how the building operates. So, probably next slide. I don't know if anybody really has any questions about the layout, but move forward here.
No, this was, sorry, Gordon. Keep going. One more. Yeah. And one more. Thank you.
Yep. I cannot see, is that in focus or maybe not for me?
Why? What's wrong? Any questions on the PV layout first on the overall roof plan? There's a small note down there. We were just talking about that. So Ellen Consulting is our PV consultant on this, and we were just talking yesterday with SMMA as well. I think there is an opportunity, especially on the south side of the building over the greenhouse. There's a small storage area to the left of it, which has a sloped roof, again, pointing almost due south. That seems like a perfect area to put a few panels as almost like a educational display of sorts, right? So now kids from the south can see that right there over the greenhouse. We're also thinking about potentially putting a few over the locker rooms. They wouldn't be visible from the ground, but they would be visible from students on the second floor of that classroom wing. So a little bit so that, and then of course we've got, displays in the building. So it won't be a secret that there's PV, but we're trying to kind of balance what we saw as two competing, try to keep them up on the roof where they're most efficient, but also have them visible to the students.
So Christian, given that constraint, are we effectively maxed out with the amount of panels we could put up there?
Right.
No, I think right now we've kind of, well, George, you can chime in here too, but we're kind of trying to hit that 440 kilowatt because that's what we had in the DD cost estimate. And so I think there is an opportunity for a little bit more on the building here, and what's not shown here at all are any on the pool structure. So that's another opportunity if, there is funding for that or the Downer district want to head that direction.
So broadly speaking, is that something that we would want to max out as much as we can?
I imagine we are maxing it.
Well, you just said we're not.
We maxed the budget out.
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not the square footage.
I don't think we took into consideration IRA rebates, so
The 30%.
noted on, yeah.
So can we gain another 30%, same cost?
George is going to talk about that momentarily.
Yeah.
In there.
All right, should I continue then? So I mean,
Sorry, Gordon.
back here a little bit. Yeah, so you obviously can read this, but as part of the design was utilizing high efficiency panels to kind of maximize our output if possible. We typically like to use the Sunny Boy outdoor inverters, which is in the design. We like them because you don't have to they can be outdoors and you don't have to, use internal space. And then the ballasted system for mounting these panels also means no roof penetrations and minimal roof penetrations. Obviously, you have some main conduits that have to go down into the building, but you don't have penetrations at each inverter. So I think it's a very cost-effective installation if you ever have to replace these, which you will, and at some point the inverters, it's simple crane up to the roof. And yeah, I mean, they allow for monitoring, so you can you can have build up a kind of a dashboard if you want in the school or on the website to show what you're producing. And yeah, it talks about Inflation Reduction Act. So now, with the elective pay option, you can the school would be reimbursed. It would be after the installation, so you'd have to cover the cost. When it's put online, you get that 30% elective pay back to you. So it's there. And then, technically, I guess you could use that money to then fund another round of PV if you wanted to, if you only had a certain budget right now, you know what I mean? So we could always provide provisions for future. And once you get that elective pay, you could use that again for additional solar technically, but there's ways to play with that money.
Does that make sense, Greg?
But we would not do it that way. If we're gonna do the 30%, we would do it all at once. But
yeah,
but I'm sorry, George.
Yeah, that's totally you can definitely do that. I was just saying, if you only had the 450K budget, KW budget, then you could technically just keep that budget, provide provisions for the future. And then once you get that credit for the 450K, you would actually then use that credit to pay for the additional percentage, if that makes any sense.
It does, George. I think the issue would be the time that it takes to get the credit, right? That's really the issue. Because if we got it back in time to use it on the project, we could, but you're saying we wouldn't.
Yeah, you have to, the thing has to be online. The system has to be online. So
I would figure a year after you.
Gotcha. Yep.
It's operational.
So we would have to come up with another $150,000 to realize it later. After the project's done. Well, not even come up with it, but Alan.
I would certainly make the provisions for additional. Make the provisions. Whether it's switchgear, conduits, or whatever, so you can add it in the future.
We could have all the roof penetrations in, and if it's just a ballasted installed system, it's, I won't call it easy, but not.
It's just that and conductors.
Yeah.
Right.
Did we see how much the estimated payback on these, the percentage of energy that created? Do we know that?
30%?
Yeah,
The current system, the 450.
Yeah, a rough cost based on if you get the Inflation Reduction Act, it's going to be like 5 years. So it's a pretty.
So George, my question is, how much of the energy that this building is going to use will be generated by the PV, roughly?
Well, yeah, I think we're thinking it's 20% plus.
Okay, and so another third will get another 5 to 7% ish, something.
Yep.
If we did another third. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I had a question. I've been bemoaning this now for months and months and months. I'm not anti-solar panels at all. I don't know how I feel about us owning them. I know everybody wants to own them. I get it. I understand. But my concern is even though there'll be fewer holes in the roof and penetrations, I'm concerned about recycling these things, removing these things, replacing these things, liability with these things, all of the hidden costs that we are not seeing. And I had asked if we could, and maybe you're doing it, if I could know what is the long-term 15, 20, 30-year cost to us to replace these things. They're not even recyclable at this point. So I guess I'm just hoping that at some point I'll get this information, because I think we should have it before we choose whether we rent out our roof and have them be in charge of all the problems that might ensue or not. And it could be a really bad idea, but unless we have that dollar amount and we know what we're doing, where are we putting these things in 15 years when they go kaplooey? How much is that going to cost? I know there's going to be contingency for whatever, but are we going to have enough for it? And I feel like we just don't know enough because
We've relayed all of your concerns, Beth, and hopefully.
It's similar to your roof. You're gonna have to replace your roof in 20 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be.
I don't know, but you hear, okay, just.
I can shed some light on that, everybody.
He's got some of the information up here.
Yeah.
All right, so, and this is actually, I made some calls just to get a better understanding of exactly what this is, but so just so you guys know, we operate 3 solar arrays. We have a 2.2 megawatt, we have 150 kW, and then we have a 60 kW. So two of those arrays are 10 years or 11 years old now. And just from an operational standpoint, like I'm not in the solar, technically the solar development business, but I've spent $1,000 over on all those arrays in the last 13 years. And that was for a firmware update on one of the inverters. So just throwing that out there.
So you said $1,000 over 13 years? Was your
Yes, and we have three arrays. So that's why I promote this technology. And like, obviously that's not a lot of money for operational or maintenance, clearly, right?
I mean, one other thing to consider, Beth, would be if you enter into an agreement with a solar partner, are they even around in 20 years?
No, I
Because
mean,
right
I know
now,
that.
companies are entering and leaving the space
Yeah.
rapidly.
The whole thing is
So I
scary.
think that might be
I think it's good, but it's scary
false
because
security.
I know the school I'm in right now, they put like 2 solar panels up and guess where all of the leaks are in their roof right now? So I hear that and people in their mind in this town are thinking, we're building a whole brand new school because we have a leaky roof. So as soon as, and that's where my little bit of trepidatious comes, it's like, yeah, we need to do this. I understand that, but I also just don't, okay, that's fine. I'm done.
So, yeah, and just let me continue on some of this stuff too. So I did find there's a company actually in California that sends old panels overseas for use on other projects, all expired panels. And it's $2 a panel is what it costs for that recycling, if you will. If you actually just get rid of them right now, it looks like it's about $23. It says, we said 30 here, but I actually got better data and it's actually $23 a module. So you can kind of do the math there. When we do this, when I've done this from the beginning, there wasn't really any information on how to dispose of these things. So when we initially did our arrays, I just have set aside 3% of production per year and put in an account so that after 25, 30 years, there's money available for that. But that's how I've typically dealt with it. But again, as more of these are installed, I think there's just going to be better ways of recycling these that, we don't know, but all we can say is what we know now. And that is $23 to $24 a panel and that's what it costs to dispose of those. So what else we got here? Yeah, I mean, so again, we own these things. We've owned one or three for 11 years. So I'm just telling you what my experience is, and it's been very, very positive in that sense. So.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks. And then again, I don't know why these were formatted like this. Oh my God.
Just a battery storage.
Yeah, keep going.
Animation.
Keep going. Oh my God. Thank you.
Got it. All right. So this is battery storage. Okay, so yeah, so I know there was some discussion of battery storage systems. We've done some battery storage for the National Guard and a hotel. In those instances, like the hotel, we actually had a fire pump, so it was actually acting as our generator. In National Guard, again, it's for really emergency power instances. Batteries are expensive. So unless there's a real big reason why if you have like unreliable power or there's a demand control response that you can get really compensated really well from the grid, from the utility, our recommendation is probably doesn't make a lot of sense to install these systems. But not saying you can't, it's just, it would be better investment with something else like solar or basically most likely just solar, more solar somewhere. But again, we can design anything. It's just, I don't think it's a good use of funds unless there's a big benefit that we are not aware of to have the storage.
So we've made space outside near the transformer to make sure that future battery storage could happen, because we were thinking about it originally before really talking to Ellen about this. And then also once we started really evaluating, we thought, well, could we have a battery storage instead of a generator, right? We have a big diesel generator, no way. So yeah, someday down the road, if you need.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right? Use battery packs for elevators.
What are negative implications with National Grid? Not having control?
No, that the permitting process can take a lot longer with the battery storage component to the PV system. Right.
Is it safe to say we're also gonna have mass save incentives for the solar? So it's beyond just IRA?
I think the mass save is more focused on building performance than the PV specifically.
Yeah.
But I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
With these credits that are being returned to the town, obviously that funding is MSBA money. We'd have to give it back. How does that work? No?
I used to, yeah, but no more.
They changed it.
Because it could be considerable money if we're talking 150 already for the solar. But that'll come back to the town and go to the general fund and used as the town deems.
They don't contribute to the solar, right? At all? MSBA.
Correct.
It's the.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Source.
good point.
The last I looked, Mass Save doesn't have the benefits, the kickback for the panels. It's the federal tax write-off, so it wouldn't necessarily help us out.
Great. Any other questions on PV?
So, Dave and Jamie and Daniel, this has to be bid as part of the electrical files of bed work, right? We're all on the same page with that, or,
The whole scope?
photovoltaic, yeah.
How does that look from your perspective in terms of experience with EV?
I don't think it's a problem. I mean,
Okay,
Done my last 3 jobs.
yeah,
The nice thing about doing it while you're building the job is with the, we put 2 panels up and now we have leaks. You build it with the building. So like everything is a little more organic than punching it all down later. So like right now we're getting ready, the roof manufacturer, if they know you're doing solar panels, they do a pre-solar install inspection. And then they do a post before they give you your warranty. So you don't have those problems when you do it all kind of organically at the same time.
so they'll warranty the seam to get the hole? Is that what?
Yeah, so like any penetration in their roof is their roof system.
Okay,
We put it in all at the same time.
at the time.
We're all good to go.
Okay.
It's a little bit of extra paperwork because you're putting a solar and it's an extra inspection.
Expand makes sense then. Do it.
Yeah, so if you put like in the vein of if you do a limited system now with chance of future expansion, putting like that, a couple conduits up there for that future expansion makes sense to do now because it's pretty short money,
How
but
much capacity do we have? Do we know in terms of relative to this? Do we double it? Do we know?
I don't think we can double it, but we can look into that.
Yeah,
Just so we have an idea what we're looking at.
for sure.
Or potential.
But yeah, I don't think double it.
Okay,
Jamie, Garden Variety filed sub-electrician, has no problem putting the panels in, doing all the work that goes with
he
it.
used to squawk about it, but it's become so prevalent now.
Paragraph E at all, or is it?
It's probably would be listed
Yeah.
as a paragraphy, but most of the.
Most of them do it
electricians
themselves.
You do it
So
themselves?
they'd have the option,
Yeah,
but they
right.
generally self-perform.
So I have, again, in the last 3 projects, the electrical sub has just done it themselves. So they work with a vendor that, sells all the equipment. They basically design it with them, buy it, and then their electricians just install it. Cause
It's like a fire alarm.
the racking system is pretty slick, like where it's literally, they design all that. They tell you how many bricks to put in each thing. You lay down all that metal, you put the bricks down, and then you just run the panels and you connect them. It's kind of plug and play at this point with how far the technology's come. So
So that being said, we just have to be cognizant of the sole source if you run it as open specs.
so Beth had to leave, but she's concerned about the aesthetics of the PV. We're okay with, are we putting shields up or in the front, or we're okay with the way it is?
I think if you're on Maple, you might barely be able to see it. So they're
Back of them though.
at a 9-degree angle. So they're very shallow on those ballasted systems. And for the majority of our building, we have a little bit of a parapet above the roof. So the only place I could think you might be able to see them is on top of that central spine, but that's pretty high up there. So it's certainly not gonna
I don't mind seeing them. She just had that concern, so that.
Totally.
That sounds like a little.
That's why we were excited about having it on the south side over that greenhouse, because that's really our only single story roof that's sloped where you could see it.
Sure.
And it's happening to be on the south side, which is great.
Yeah, very cool.
Uh-oh.
I was looking for that picture. That's the way you're talking about, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you'll have clearances around the roof edge anyway for emergency personnel and all that. So it's not like the panel is going to be right up against the edge of your roof.
Have we made provisions for tie-off points for people who may have to get that to work on it? Yeah. So you know,
We
good.
typically, yeah, include that in our designs.
Good. Great. Thank you, George.
Thanks, George.
Thanks.
Sure. So here, you're very familiar with our colored plans by now. We've been making a few updates. At this point, we're mostly in coordination and detailing, but there were a few areas that got some changes we wanted to bring and share today. So some changes around admin, band and chorus, auditorium, some of the lab spaces. And then we're gonna show you actually a walkthrough through some of the main spaces of the building. So you'll get to see the spine and the cafeteria and media center. So A Wing is the place we had kind of the most revisions. We had a number of meetings with staff and faculty, and that's what informed some of these conversations, starting to look at how the spaces are really used. Along kind of the top and west side, left side there, has some swaps. We moved where the bathrooms were in the district offices. So they're a little further away from the admin desk, and we brought storage closer. We moved the kitchen. So now the kitchen space will be a little bit bigger and shared between school, admin, and the district offices. So that's a kind of a shared space now.
Welcome, Frank.
We updated mail and time based on Frank's input to kind of reconfigure that space. And then IT got some walls shuffled around to better accommodate the office space in those areas. So a little bit of massaging there, and hopefully we're getting on it.
Conference room?
Was it?
How big is the conference room in the corner? Call?
I think it's like 360 square feet.
And that would mean, all right. don't know.
Compared to this size.
Yeah.
Like half of this,
Like the wall.
less than half,
Tiles.
Less than
a
half.
little less. Did you count the tiles already, Ryan?
No, just guessing.
So I got nine.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
Right.
There is.
Okay, great. We can go ahead to the next one. So we have some zoomed in plans for band and chorus. Had one of the bigger reconfigurations. We shifted the space around a bit to better account for, band and chorus don't actually need exactly the same amount of space. So band room is now a little bit bigger, chorus is a little smaller. We had a kind of a generic ensemble room, but that's now going to be the keyboard room, which is a specific need that chorus has.
Got added.
Yeah, cool. You can see kind of the image on the left. We've been developing the ceiling more. So we're looking at this step ceiling, which allows it to step up to the clerestory windows while still concealing the mechanical that's running above there. There's mechanical up there to conceal. So kind of getting into the details there with the ceiling, and we've had conversations with our acoustic designer. So making sure we have the right percentage of reflective and absorptive material, things like that.
What is that space to the left of the band room where the display cases are? Is that a separate?
So that is connected to the band room with an opening. That's music storage. So it's the big storage for, all the instruments, but then there are also display cases because we know that there's a lot of awards and
A lot of trophies.
For the whole district, the town, or just for music?
For music.
Okay. And to that point, do we have a trophy case for to replace this one in the main hallway outside the gym?
We do have trophy cases.
Okay.
We have
Over by the gym.
Someone had asked me that, and
Yeah.
that exists.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So a question on Hall of Fame.
Oh, that one too, Hall of Fame.
We can, there's a number on the north side of the gym. We have quite a few display cases built in there. And then there's some on the, by the kind of PE entrance. as well.
Yeah, and we could probably go through those and refresh those too, or not.
So auditorium.
Can I chime in just quick? Greg was talking about the Hall of Fame. I have had some preliminary conversations with them about potentially reducing the amount of space that they currently utilize at the school. Because I don't foresee their current approach of having those individualized plaques for each member being the same approach in the new building. Just want to put that out there.
No, that's good. That makes sense.
All right, so auditorium has gotten a lot of development. Some more design on the proscenium, and again, talking with acoustics and the theater designer. We've been working on improving sight lines from the control room, and designing that ceiling. It's changed since the last time we showed a rendering. So these wood panels are intended to, reflect the sound specifically to suit the space. That pink purple thing in the back is called a cyclorama, which is a word I learned, which is this very fine white material that can catch the light, and it's used for scenes, and then also it can change color, and it's this very nice backdrop for the stage. So it's going to be a nice element there. We've also been working on maximizing the amount of seating in the auditorium. And so I think right now we're about at 500. So if you go to the next slide.
So Jill, that's all wood that we're looking at?
Yes, on the ceiling, that's wood, and the sides are wood. Yeah, so here are some studies that the theater designer did for how the stage can be used for both choral and orchestral performances combined. So you see in the back, you have the choral risers. So by doing it in this configuration, we're able to reduce the size of the pit and bring some more seating in at the front. And this kind of setup is actually the way that all kind of professional and collegiate level mixed ensembles are set up, with the chorus behind the. So this is, if you were to continue on, this is the way it would be arranged. So just to give you a sense, you can fit a lot on that stage the way it is. So we feel pretty comfortable bringing those seats up and getting that extra seating in there.
We're going to purchase the stands, Jill.
Yeah, that's.
Of course, it'll be it'll include it. Okay, great.
Has a choral teacher seen that? It's pretty cool.
We have had conversations with them. I don't know if they've seen this particular setup, so we can make sure to share that when we need to share the new band room anyway. So we'll include that with that. Okay.
Any more on that?
Yeah, no, we can go ahead. So this is the E wing, kind of that West Academic wing, into two levels. I just wanted to call out the STEM lab, which is on the second floor, and the graphics studio, which is on the first floor. Those are the purple spaces. So here, the shape, the plan hasn't changed a ton, but we've been doing a lot of kind of refinement, adding in workspaces in both of these, actually a pretty substantial workbench in STEM, places they have a number of 3D printers, so getting that all mocked up. Mobile workstations, we're starting to look at furniture, so where you'd have built-in shelving or furniture shelving, things like that. So STEM is going to have a lot of flexible storage, a lot of workspace, and then their robotics field off to the side, which will be a very neat space. And then in the graphics studio, that's now set up so it can have 24 computer workstations, so the students can be doing computer work. We also have the counter for hands-on work. Then the printing room off to the side, which has a laser cutter and the hydraulic paper cutter and the vinyl cutter, large plotter. Those, we've added another door. We've also added a sink. So, but that extra door off the main hallway should make it easier for art teachers to use, or to make it a really interdisciplinary space. So it's not just controlled from the one side. So.
Do we currently own all those machines?
Yeah, some of them the school already has. Yep. We're bringing in and designing for that. And then I think some of them are new. I'm not sure.
It'll be fully furnished with all those machines. Okay, great.
Labs, again, this is just getting more into the details of the casework. Getting all of the, what's furniture, what's built in, worked out. Getting our ceilings designed, so you can see in the rendering, there's gonna be a unistrut in all of the labs, so you'll have pull down cords and anyways, just to give you a sense of what these are starting to look like. I think they're starting to come together, but it's a lot of little pieces to be kind of presented.
I'll talk a little bit about the gym. So we've been talking to Kevin and trying to bounce back some ideas, which has been super helpful. So this is early on. Usually we're doing this process, well, to be frank, sometimes we're doing this process during construction. So it's helpful to be doing this nice and early, figuring out this all has lots of implications with what's going on at the ceiling of the gym, right? Because we have 6 different basketball hoops that all need to fold up. We have a batting cage that needs to get stashed somewhere up above. And so
Wrestling
mats are going to be in alt PE.
Okay.
Not in the main gym space, but looking a little bit at how we want to organize this. So we've bounced some ideas back and forth. Kevin was interested in kind of simplifying the line work. So that's what you see here. So you have a main basketball court in black with Spartans and East Longmeadow. And again, all this can change going forward, but helpful to get an idea of just kind of like amount of paint and how we're going to lay that out. And a main volleyball court shown in white, again, running east-west. The dashed line at the top, the floor plan right now is showing all of the bleachers stacked against that northern wall. Those will come all the way out to that dashed line that's about 7 feet off of the basketball court when those are fully extended. And then you've got your practice courts on the side as well as practice volleyball court. You'll have a center net divider, so you can lower that while the 2 practice courts, have a little bit more isolation between the 2 practice courts. So just trying to get a feel for all of that space.
Main bleachers only on one side, different from what we have now on both sides.
Correct.
Bleachers on the other side for teams.
No bleachers, space for benches, and those are openings to the hallway down here. So this will feel quite open on the kind of south side of the gym.
Will teams fit there?
Yes.
Okay, that's the intention.
That's the intention. Great. And now, if you wouldn't mind switching to that other. So we've been working on a walkthrough of the interiors in particular. It's really helpful for us because this is truly what we're seeing inside of our 3D model, our Revit model. And so we're able to look at materials. We're also able to see when a pipe is, sticking into your head as you walk through that door. So we're going through a lot of those coordination issues, but we want to clean this up just a little bit more. But then I think also would be great to show this to the public and really kind of get people excited about, what they can expect for the inside of the building. So yeah, Gordon, I think if you just want to run it. So we're just coming in the front entrance now. Admin's on your right. This is the central spine with the teaching stair up on the left. Thinking a lot about kind of robust materials in this area. And then now we're taking a right into the auditorium. So there's that image that you just saw from before, but just a little bit more enlivened up. So you're going under the media center right now in the cafeteria, and then opening to this 2-story space with really nice filtered daylight coming in from the south. Coming up the main stair here, classroom wing on each side of you. We'll head to the eastern classroom wing very quickly, running through the building.
Wait for quiet.
Line. So all of the classroom doors are inset in the ceramic tile on each side. So it kind of, enlivens that junction and also a nice sturdy surface and just kind of, helps identify those little inlets where the classroom doors are. This is where you'll have clear story light coming down from above. And then this nice large opening down to the first floor as well. And a little bit of room on the side here for breakout spaces. And you can see we've started to put in things like interactive TVs on some of the walls.
Right.
Are the railings glass or metal?
The railings are metal, and we're thinking in that specific area, higher than code minimum, just to, give us a little bit more peace of mind. This is the media center, and we're going a little quickly. We can head back if we need to, and now we're going down the central stair here. And I think we'll, yeah. Whoops.
Oh, Gordon.
Right.
When you say a little bit higher in the rails,
Like,
we've run into this problem on a couple of projects where the rails were low and there was concern that people were gonna,
Yeah.
jump over and stuff.
Right.
Mine too.
So the 42 is the code minimum, and that's, feels pretty good. We were looking at 48 to start with, just
There?
yeah, we'll feel quite a bit better.
This guy runs fast.
So yeah, right. So guidance is on our left, and nurse is further down on our left.
So we're gonna have all these windows into these spaces.
Yeah.
These are demonstrated.
What you see is what you
In the
get.
guidance conference room as well?
Yes, there, we had, we were just talking about the other day.
10 years, Pam, we got there.
But guidance, where we were going to.
getting medical room.
To do
I
that.
know, huh?
Downhill from here.
Are you able to like?
Session after 60%.
There'll be shades on every interior window
That
for
when
sure.
it's Not a confidential thing, it can be open.
Okay.
But we were talking specifically, we had quite kind of large glass into the nurse waiting and guidance waiting, and that was requested to, let's have those go away or be up high, a little more privacy.
How high are the ceilings? We were walking, just felt like they were coming.
So in
Curious.
the corridors, they're about 9'6".
It's pretty tall.
Yeah, part of it is, in that view, it looks pretty long.
I mean, I think this was really cool. Don't get me
But
wrong.
that's something that we've noticed, and we're gonna try to have a few moments at least.
Okay.
Pop up a bit to break
Bring
that.
some variety.
Was there a demand for the lockers on the second floor?
Yes. What was that for in particular?
So we have,
Repairs?
for students, it's for students, so we have about 200, I think, spaces for student lockers. So that was just something we heard pretty consistently when we met with students, was that nobody uses lockers now because they're too small, but a lot of people were interested in having them if they were bigger and centrally located. So we're compromising and having some available for students who want them. Yeah.
So lockers are like not a required thing. It's only like if you're staying in that hallway for like all day.
It would be
Like, if you don't have a locker, you can carry your backpack around.
The idea would be if you wanted a locker, you could probably check one out or.
No, they don't do it.
Okay.
I don't wear.
Yeah.
They don't wear coats.
They wear shirts in the winter.
No coats. Walk around with backpacks. Kidding.
Little Linus.
Back in park.
They can't be.
That was the end of the design update.
Nice fly through or walk through, excuse me.
Run through.
Thank you.
It's that, right? It's a YouTube. You don't want it to be too long, so you speed it up.
Social media, informing everything.
Exactly. Have we droned on long enough?
It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, but it's all good news, so it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so we already kind of touched on the early release packages. We touched on the enabling package, all that stuff. So I don't really have a whole lot to say if there's no.
The only one I want to highlight here is that we are trying to force you all to have a meeting on July 23rd, which is a Tuesday. And this is all to orchestrate when that estimate happens, when that reconciled estimate is finished. School building committee approval of the 60% final documents.
Did we?
Submitting to the MSBA on the 25th and having the early release packages going out the 26th.
Third. And did you need a meeting on June 20th or no?
I think we were talking about that potentially just being an SLT meeting. I don't know if we need a whole building committee.
It's July 23rd though, right?
July 2020.
SBC.
Are we're setting that 3 o'clock?
If you guys are up for it, that would be great.
I mean, we might as well set it, I think, right? Yeah.
Christian, what's the second item? Because at the top, it says 60% to JWA, and then down below, it says 60% documents to JWA.
Yeah, so this is when, right, this is very complicated. So we're getting the 60% cost estimate stuff from our consultants on the 19th. We deliver it to the estimators on the 24th. That's the cost estimate set. Fontaine's actually going to use that cost estimate set to start getting some bid numbers. But then the final 60% package to the MSBA is due to us on the 22nd. We deliver it to the MSBA on the 25th.
Got it. Tuesday, July 23rd.
Tuesday, July 23rd. We should have the results of that 60% cost estimating process for that meeting.
Does that work for everybody?
Kristen says it has to.
What else can I add to this slide?
Well, I mean, it is helpful if people can, come in Zoom. You know what I mean? If they need to, there's a high vacation time, but
Be around.
yeah.
What time we take vision?
3 p.m. Does that work, Mr. Mackey?
Works for me.
Gotta be retired.
Yeah, right.
Do you want to zoom in?
Thinking about you, Tom.
Yeah. Zoom in. Okay.
All right, so after you've seen the beautiful building, we're gonna put a road in. Super. But this is essentially what we've been working with the team on kind of putting together for that mailer that we talked about for both the students and the abutters. Just kind of giving everybody an idea of what's going on this summer. It's just a cleaned up picture of what we reviewed in the past meeting, so I'm not gonna bore everybody with all the details unless there's any questions specifically
There
on.
was some pushback from the butters on that road, right?
They don't like it, is the pushback, but to fit all the needs that we're trying to fit between the school, between non-school related events, the only way to keep that soccer field is that road goes there.
Rich, what's your foot?
What day, does this mean for us, all the parking in the front?
Work for all of this is starting on June 17th. So it'll basically be, it's not gonna, we're not gonna be tearing all the trees out on the 17th, but probably within a week, we'll start doing work up front in that horseshoe area. And we're scheduling a meeting with Gordon and Frank and a couple other people on the team just to kind of go through in more baby steps of what the schedule is gonna look like so they can get that to the staff.
So we don't have to move everybody up front on the 17th. 18th is fine.
Correct, yeah, it's gonna be like a slow roll, as much as I want it to look like the money pit and have just 100 people show up and start slamming stuff in. It's gonna be a fence guy, it's gonna be a lot of, surveyors, fence guys. But within probably the next week is when you'll start seeing trees coming down, some trimming in the back happening.
So it cleaned off that front horseshoe completely, the existing?
Yes, yeah,
But it sounds like central office parking too, right?
yes.
Okay, I just have some PDs, so as soon as I know, so I can tell people where to go.
Kelly Law. Sorry.
All after.
We're stuck on your.
Still on your movie reference up here, just so you know.
That was a good one, huh?
That was pretty impressive. Well played.
So that road, are you gonna, is that gonna have fence and scrim on it too, or?
Yes. Still work.
Like where number 5 is, where you're real close to the neighbors, or you?
So that area will basically be scrimmed on the both sides.
Are you guys looking to do a custom scrim or just?
I
am.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen custom scrim, right?
We don't want to put graphics on it and try to get people.
On the neighbor's yard. Fair.
We'll work with you guys.
Yeah.
Design, incorporating, if there's like a school, slogan or something, some renderings and stuff. We'll do that, in the visible areas.
Yeah.
But just for pure dust control and everything around that 5, we'll just have the typical, green scrim.
Is that paved?
The road, yeah.
Now, does traffic go in and out of that all day long? Or is there like a specific time where you get?
Once we get up and running on the actual building, it'll be all day, but we'll have blackout hours based on the dismissal and arrival times.
And that I got in passing as I was driving through the neighborhood.
Yeah, so we will establish, we have something laid out now, I forget what it is, but we basically bracket the arrival and the dismissal time, so we don't have construction traffic when all that's happening.
Otherwise, they can expect to hear trucks Okay.
Yeah.
What's the abutter concern? That one elbow that's kind of close to the fence?
The question that came up at planning is basically why is the road so close to our property? And it really was driven by, we can't put it right next to the building because of just emergency access. So the only other place to put it would take out that soccer field, which we've been trying hard to save for all the programs here. And then there was some other concerns kind of too that we went through in all of our phasing. So it was purely couldn't this be pushed over more? And we gave them the feedback and we're working with a lot of different interests. And this was the best place, to put it. And then some of them were concerned it was a permanent road, but we let them know that it should only be there for about 2 years and then it'll be a beautiful baseball field, so.
Or less.
Yeah.
No penalty for finishing early.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
But so that kind of the horseshoe, the real impact on everybody, school wise is that work in that horseshoe area. Will maintain access to the main entrance. And it'll just be kind of a constant communication of what's going on there with the people still occupying the building over the summer. And then the next slide kind of shows the first day of school, I believe. Yeah. So the bus loop really doesn't change from what it is now. Sort of the staff should be able to all shift over to where that number 2 is, including the district office people from the back. And then you can kind of turn the old parking area into primarily student parking. And we'll sort of retreat into our fence line there.
Erase your line?
Never erasing that.
How aggressive is the summer work?
That line's 20 years old.
This summer.
Pretty aggressive. I'll give it like an 8.
Right, pretty much where they are now.
Concerned about not finishing or?
I'm just curious how much we're rolling the dice on this one. I assume we're buying dates, so.
Yeah, the way we phased it is really the return to school, everything outside of our fence line, has to be done, right? Like we can't be messing around. Done. Yeah. Some of the utility relocation, that's part of the enabling package that's gonna happen inside our fence we have that going through September.
I know it.
Because we didn't want to put a constraint that didn't have to be put on the site. There's no point when we're separating the site to be screaming, and rushing to get that work that's inside of our fence line done during a busy summer already.
Are you all set with the SWIP plan already or?
So the draft, Gagliarducci went over, we started the NOI.
Yeah, Gagliarducci submitted the NOI.
Yeah.
So it should be by the 14th, we should get approval back. And they-
Is it 30 or 15-day?
10.
Oh, really?
And they used the draft SWIP that we
Yep.
had for that.
Oops, sorry.
When do the tennis courts go to 3?
So if you go back to the previous
Yeah.
slide, our goal is to keep the tennis courts, number 2, tennis courts, main office access, number 3, the stadium, and number 1, that's the primary entrance, all that we're gonna try and keep available to the school and the community for the summer.
Okay.
And then number 6, we're hoping to work to locate the bandstand for the summer concert series in a location where we can still do some of the utilities in that area during the summer, but always having it available on Wednesday when we need it. And then they'll stay online for the fall.
The rear 3 courts will pretty much come offline in June when we start putting fence up.
Okay. I don't think it's set.
And then there was a request or it came up somewhere about the lighting for the court that's gonna remain online. We think that's doable with just the research we did, but now that we have an electrician on board, we'll be able to confirm whether it's yay or nay with what we're doing.
I mean,
but our intent,
if we could keep lighting.
Yeah.
As we did, Kevin's done some incredible work. And he can go to double sessions. He's got us booked, where we can, for the first 2 weeks of the tennis season, which will be first ever, where weather won't bother him because we'll have 3 courts at the Enfield Tennis Club and 3 courts at the Ludlow Tennis Club. So we have the best in shape in those first 2 weeks we've ever had. And he'll have transportation. He's already done that and he's priced out going, basically running those 3 courts the way we would run the ball through the gym. So we're looking at about $19,951. But the lighting would be key.
Yeah, so that's how we wrote it. Essentially, they're gonna be removing the lights for the rear courts and then leaving those lights up. And once we get him on board and start really investigating how all that's really wired, we'll figure out what that's gonna take, but.
I mean, we'll have daylight savings.
Yeah.
Helpful, but if we had the lighting, that'd be great too. Am I accurate in that, so we're looking at 19,000 just to sort of put that whole public discussion out in front of us? Temporary court is 100,000?
We looked at 2 temporary courts based off of a sketch from the design team.
Yeah.
And with the striping and everything, and it was basically like $260,000 for the 2.
We're about 7%.
So, okay.
Yeah, and they can't use them.
So
for-
260,000, which you can't use for games.
Correct.
I mean, for matches, sorry.
My bad, that was me.
Yeah. And 19,000, almost 20,000. We could do that a couple seasons and not even get close to the 260.
How are you funding the 19,000? Is that a project cost?
No.
Your operational?
Yes.
We're gonna figure that out.
Fireworks.
Coming out of Scanlon.
All set? Get that set?
Hopefully.
Think.
Okay.
Funding it out of fireworks, nice.
Painting that now.
I keep getting.
Part of the demo.
Yeah.
There's some blasting.
So that answers our question. So we'll go forward with this plan to make sure the tennis team's taken care of and then work on the other teams that will get affected as we get to the different stages.
Yeah, and on the fireworks side, we sort of laid out a phased fence install with the site guy. So essentially the perimeter fence will go up first and then he'll sort of dial that back a little bit. So that area where number 5 is, that road may be scratched in, but we won't have the fence along the road in, so people can still wander freely. We won't have people trying to climb the fence because it's an open spot to watch fireworks. And then after the fireworks, we'll basically remobilize the fence guy and kind of put everything together the way we need it for the end of the summer. And then with the concert series, once we start the 17th, our goal is to just have the site guy's going to lay out where the utilities need to go there. And if we could possibly cheat that stage sort of towards the parking lot, like 10, 15 feet, that might be very good for us. Because we can basically put our fence right behind where the stage is and work on our utilities and not have to temp stuff out.
Keep moving.
Yeah, while we're doing that.
Next July, no fireworks there.
Fireworks.
What's the plan there, Ryan?
I'm resigning after this.
Okay, good.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Nope.
We'll find his boss.
Yeah.
There's a.
We already a couple of meetings and planning it out.
Could we, maybe Brown Farm with the golf course?
Kevin McGee. Nice work on that.
You did.
Yeah,
a great
really
job.
nice.
Yeah. He's done a nice job. He always does a nice job.
Jamie, is that it? You good? That's it? All right, thank you.
Good reference to Money Pit. Thank you.
Shelley Long.
Shelley Long, Tom Hanks, can't go wrong.
All right, so next agenda item is designees for change order approval. I don't even want to touch this one.
So we've done this on several projects where the school building committee will delegate authorization to 1, 2, 3 people to approve change orders. Wacona is a good example. They delegated to the superintendent. They had authority to approve up to $100,000 on change orders. And anything over that, they'd have to, come back to the full SPC. So we'll report out every SPC meeting what was approved and financial status, but it's very cumbersome if we have to come to the full SPC every time we.
John, just in terms of process, so anything that's coming to whoever is deciding, you guys have already scrubbed, you guys are like.
Yeah, so they'll come.
It's done.
They'll come to us, we'll vet them, and then we'll present them to whoever this subcommittee is what we've done in the past, So I think it's all legal. I mean, you need to appoint a subcommittee and vote on it, but.
That's just, from our perspective, that's a similar process to what we've seen on other MSBA jobs where, we're gonna be, as Jamie said, this summer, every month throughout this project, we're gonna be moving quickly, needing to give direction to subcontractors and needing to make sure that we have the faith of the subcontractors, that when we give them direction to do something, it's been vetted and their money will get, approved and paid in timely fashion. So having some smaller contingent of people.
This group would probably have to meet once a week, right? At least? No?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have, during the job, we'll have change order reviews every week.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, the designees, yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it's once a week.
typical threshold?
Yeah, I mean, and we've also seen, another thing that we've seen that works well is that, like, if it's change orders that are gonna be changes to, the contract sum per se, it'll be treated like that. Oftentimes when we set up, a CM job, we'll have allowances and holds that are essentially designated for work that we know is gonna take place, but is not able to be quantified at bid day. So sometimes we've set it up where if it's an allowance or hold, that, basically can be approved between the OPM and the money for that hold is essentially already earmarked for it.
Yeah.
That's a way that we've seen where it can even work better, because once we kind of approve that bucket, the day-to-day oversight of drawing down that is just at the, assuming that we're not asking to increase the budget for that bucket. Right, so that's.
Does that happen sometimes, an increase in the bucket?
It does sometimes. More often than not, it'll be, say that we have a bucket for like soil issues or something early on and we don't expend that, we'll transfer that money to a risk that's further down the road. So we'll
It's more moving of the buckets.
I'd say, yes, understand.
That's
Credit it back. Always an option.
Find something.
because it, to your point, it does, as the project goes through, anything that's not spent, the allowances, the holds, the change orders goes 100% back to the town. There's no shared savings. There's no incentive for us to keep money there until the end. So.
But we shouldn't anticipate much of that, correct?
I think within the budget that we're going, as we go through the project and we're 20% done, 30% done, 40% done, that's where we can report on our exposure and those types of things. Because we've seen to the conversations here, things like sod, things like that, you're getting toward the fence. As you get towards the end of the project, if that money is unlikely to be used in the scope, right, we're gonna, report what we think about that so the town can make decisions on how they want to allocate it.
A good example is DeBerry, the changes were minimal, 0.5%. And, halfway through the job, the city of Springfield decided they wanted to add $500,000 garage.
Storage.
Storage. And we were able to fund that from monies within the budget.
Okay.
Which is how we're gonna fund the sod.
But to Gordon's point, the design team is gonna be present, they're a party at the table for any change order, so we'll handle that during our weekly meetings with the CM and the architect and us, so.
How do you want to go about?
Do we need a vote or?
Tom, you got any thoughts?
I think this is sort of our commitment to the being expeditious. Like the whole team is sort of committed to us that they're going to move as fast as we want them to move. We need to keep up and we can't do it as an entire group. So however, everybody, whatever the suggestion is, if it's one person up to a point and then a smaller group up to another point, and then, a monumental change would obviously take all of our sort of opinion and input and vote probably, but it's time for all of us collectively to sort of designate and get out of the way so that the project can move, because it's time for it to move. And that's why I wanted it on the agenda, just so we could, I don't know if we're there right this second, but as long as everybody feels the same way, I think we need to sort of.
We're gonna be there real soon, so why seize the moment, right?
Yeah. Seize the and make that commitment to them that we're ready to keep the ball rolling. That's what I think.
Well, I do think that you should nominate, I don't care how big the committee is, 2, 3, whatever you want, and vote on it. And make it part of the minutes.
Gordon, Steve, and Tom.
Tom and Gordon.
But I think it makes sense to include Greg.
Right.
As school committee.
I thought we were trying to be efficient.
There it is.
All right. He took a shot on camera.
These meetings are typically gonna occur during the day whenever we decide the OIT meeting is gonna be, so,
They are.
He'll probably make himself.
We'll work around your schedule, Steve, but yeah, so whoever can physically attend or.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to have input in it, so I'm in.
You know,
Yeah, I can be in it.
He's here every day, so that'd probably be good.
So would it make sense to, if there's three, is it a quorum? Like, is it just one of the three people? All three have
Why
the,
don't you do 4? And then you have, if 3 are always available, you're set, right?
yeah, our experience is that it's gonna be every, if we have the OAC Thursdays at noon.
Yeah, no, I know, it's every week.
One, and you're sitting through, especially like, if we're sitting through the reviews, we go through each page by page, line by line.
This is attending the OAC meetings?
No, it's like a change order review meeting.
I would think that would happen every 2 weeks max.
No, you gotta do it every week.
Look at Jamie.
What's the typical dollar?
Every day.
Depends, but you gotta do it every.
Just yeah.
Well, it said like one
It could
person from
be.
that group can approve anything under 50, and then you need the full 4, majority of the 4 to do.
I think we should just decide collectively. Why would we like? Cause what decision is he gonna make, and then which one is he gonna make, and then which one am I,
Just, they're saying that there's a lot more that are lower, and so kind of get everybody
I
to.
think if you can't make it, then
Then-
we all agree that, well, the other three are
other
gonna
three will
decide, and we're
decide,
cool with
yep.
it. If you can make it, then you gotta vote. Cause if that's cool with everybody, I'm down. I can be available pretty good.
Is Frank still on?
Does it make sense to have a lower tier, as in when it doesn't even really require input, this is sort of just as the ocean flows, so to speak, and just have a quick sign off and then, do you know what I'm saying? Like some of the smaller things that may happen on a day to day. And we're trying to I agree, we've gotten smaller, but we still have a quarter of this committee now that has to get together and make this decision.
I personally would love it if you just gave the 30 to Steve and then he can seek, if he has questions or.
Well, I guess that's what I was getting at was, we have a building committee for Westcom, and the executive director has a change order up to a certain amount. Then the building committee is the next amount. Then this whole committee is the full amount. So the building chair, who luckily for us is super talented in this area, particularly, could make these decisions by himself quickly up to a certain dollar amount. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, so if you want tier, maybe it's 50, Steve has up to 50,000, and then the full committee has up to 100, and then beyond that, we have to come back to the full group.
I stand.
No, sorry.
change it to 50, 250. And then whatever else. And honestly, if we're back in this full group asking for approval, something has gone catastrophically wrong.
Right.
Correct.
It's like, we found a bunch of money and it's like, hey, let's go build another artificial turf field or whatever it may be.
Sod.
So Steve up to 50,
Artificial side field.
this 4, some 3 of this 4 to 250. And then after 250 is the entire. Work.
Second.
I think Ryan likes it.
Yeah,
Yes.
makes sense.
Is that reasonable?
All right, so Tom, you made the motion.
Because there are gonna be a lot of very.
Yes, I will make that a motion.
Okay, and
Officially.
Ryan seconded it.
Second.
Who were the full 4 for the minutes?
I really.
Gordon,
Part of this.
Stephen, Gregory, Thomas.
Sounds like the first names.
I was gonna go with the 4 horsemen, but tomato.
Science lab to do.
Okay. I think, Dave, does that make sense?
Yeah.
As much sense as it's gonna.
And we can tweak it as,
If we have to adjust, we adjust.
yeah, I think your point is good. We want to keep everybody moving, have a consistent flow for the subs and everybody.
Yep, great.
And to that end, and John,
A lot of little
for you guys in particular, but for everybody else on this team, if it's not working, if the process is stumbling, raise your hand right away. Don't wait, think it's gonna get better, because it won't. let's just fix it as fast as we can.
So will you let
If
us know?
Frank needs to be part of this later on, could we do another vote or something?
Yeah, because he's not on.
Yeah, just in case, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't want to go to lots of meetings, but I'm sure his input would be important for the larger group.
Can you let us know of any change orders that happen so that we're in the loop?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is sort of, we mentioned this at SLT as well. If you guys have things that we need to know and we need to do, like meet on July 23rd, just say it and we'll do it, because everybody is committed as you are. So whatever we need to do, we'll all do. We'll keep communicating and we're gonna knock this thing out of the park, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we should also add that.
See how fast we ran through that walkthrough?
That's what I'm talking about. That was me. I had the camera. I had the GoPro on.
Irrespective of dollar value, if there is something that gets put forward that has a material effect on what the building looks like, feels like, functions like, then that should be a bigger discussion, right? That shouldn't be one person or three people saying, yeah, we're gonna take out all the labs.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, just so there's some comfort that, you know, the idea isn't to take the axe to it. The idea is keep going. Build what we designed.
Awesome.
All right. So you have a motion, you have a second, you had some discussion. Any further discussion?
Kathy, you good?
I'm fine.
Okay.
All right. Crucial.
See.
All right, I'm a yes. Ms. Blair?
Yes.
Paige has left the building.
Oh, I'm still here. Yes.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
There he is.
Well, then should we ask him right now?
Did you want to be part of that?
Was that you volunteering, Frank? Do we see your hand up?
I'm sorry, Frank.
I did not raise my hand for that, but I'm a good soldier. So you just tell me to be part of it and I will.
We'll bring you in as needed. How's that?
Works for me, guys.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Page. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
Yes.
Left. Brandy's not here. Ms. LeVar left. Ms. Thompson? Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Ms. Collins still on?
Yep.
All right. She said yes?
Yep.
Okay. And Mr. Quimby?
Yes.
Okay, yeses have it.
Right. It would appear that's the agenda. Any new business remote? Looks like a definitive no.
All right.
Any new business in the room? Danielle, nothing?
Nothing.
I see you got the columns out from under that overhang. Well played.
I didn't do that.
I know. Trying to throw you about.
Yeah, take the credit.
Take the credit. Anybody else? Good, bad, indifferent?
Thank you.
Steve, maybe Eli and Kristen can chat for a minute after.
Sure.
I'm just closing down. Sorry. Sorry.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
On air conditioning.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Okay.
Any
Kathy
concerns?
and Ryan?
None.
Roll call, or can we all just sit?
All right.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I.
Practice sometimes rules over.